This week we're talking about ghosts, procrastination, and unpaid opportunities that we should all be grateful for.
Also, is burning bridges really a good idea? Hello and welcome to Pain in the Arts, the podcast about the arts and creative sector in Wales, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the why did I choose this career moment. I am broadcaster Chris J. Birch, and
I'm Rhys Birch, artist, writer, and editor for the Edit Wales. Each week we're going to be breaking down what's going on in Welsh art, theatre, music, exhibitions, all those great things.
so if you work in the arts, if you want to work in the arts, or if you just love it from afar, welcome. You are in great company here on this Thursday, or whenever you're listening to us at this very moment. These drop every Thursday. And we are recording this on a Tuesday evening after we've come from 222 A Ghost Story. Do we dare talk about it?
Well, there is the big twist at the end, which I think it pulls the camaraderie together in theatre, where people are like, no, I'm not going to spoil this ending for anyone else who was going to go and see this afterwards.
Also, there was this big shush, do not tell anyone
It almost felt
sign.
like a threat, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was a
Ghosts
little
will
threat.
come and get you after. I tell you what, though, watching that, because I didn't realise, naively going into it, that it was made by the guy who does Uncanny on BBC.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't realise that. I don't know why I hadn't made the connection. And I watched a couple of episodes of Uncanny.
Only if you can say it.
And only if it is Uncanny that I can't say it. But I'd watched a few episodes of that, but it made me get back into that series, actually, watching that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do love a ghost story and a scary moment.
See, I can take or leave A Ghost Story completely, but that one, because it had such hype behind it. I mean, lots of people kept asking us, are you going? Are you going to go and see it? Oh, you've got to go and see it. So we had to go and see it. I certainly had to go and see it because everybody else said you have to go and see it. So I went along, but yeah, I'm not normally a horror person. I am a bit of a murder mystery person. So, you know, I did enjoy that Ghost and what was the other one? Inspector Morse and Poirot and all those sorts of things. I do enjoy that. I think I'm a nana at heart.
Yeah, you do like a good murder mystery, whereas I like a horror. I do like a horror. Like, one of my favourite TV shows was Most Haunted. I used to love getting myself scared watching that.
See, I can't.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. And it's not even necessarily that I believe in ghosts, but I like the unexplained. Like,
But it's the cringe factor for me. I think that production quite nicely borderlined it. You know, it wasn't cringy. It was the right amount of shock value, scary, and all that sort of thing. I think it did work. I quite enjoyed it.
But I think that's what the TV series Uncanny does really well. It leaves you with enough. It doesn't try and prove or disprove the ghosts that these people are claiming to have had, like, an experience with. It leaves it up to the viewer's discretion. So it leaves it in your hands to think, boom, was that real? Was it explainable? Was it not explainable? Where do I sit on it? But it's given me a hankering to want to watch more horror, scary sort of theatre, live theatre. I think it gives you a different vibe when you watch it live.
See, you say all this, but last week you said you didn't like immersive theatre. Now, for me, if you had immersive theatre and you had a horror genre, would that appeal to you? See, it would appeal to me. That, the immersive quality of it, having someone around you. So, because that's what happens in no spoilers, but it's everywhere. The woman in black. Doesn't the woman in black appear at the very start in the auditorium?
I don't know if it's at the start, but I know at some point she appears in the theatre, like the auditorium goes dark and then she appears in the aisle of the stalls.
Yeah.
And then when the lights come back on, she's there and there's this like awful screech of coming from her. I wouldn't mind. That's not immersive. She's not dragging me onto the stage and then making me like the man in black. Do you know what I mean? I haven't then got to fulfill that role.
I would do it. Talking about like it's going from Man in Black, not Men in Black. That's not where I'm going. I'm going for fur, brown fur. Yes. So if you were watching this last week, you will know that Jack was boycotting me and would not let me wear my brown fur, fake fur, Tina Turner inspired sort of outfit, definitely coat. And yes, sadly he won. I wasn't allowed to. But I would have been the only person not wearing fur. Everyone else and their grandfather was wearing it.
Yeah, that's true. But then saying that, though, you did get your moment in that fur coat. You got to have a photo shoot in it with the fantastically talented Monique from the Content Club in Cardiff.
Yeah, I know. We'll put I tell you what, should we put a photo up, you know, just so you can see it? I mean, it is, I will be fair, it's a little cringe.
Yeah, but we'll leave the audience to decide.
We'll leave that where it is. But yeah, if you like that photo, feel free, screenshot it.
Yeah. Talking of horror mind, though, going back to this, we did an escape room for the first time this weekend.
Yeah, never done one
Yeah.
before.
And we decided to go for a horror one, something to do with ice scooping.
Yeah.
What was it called? Oculus 2.
Oculus 2.
In the escape rooms in Cardiff in St Mary Street. And it was very frustrating.
Immersive.
Frustrating, I would say.
Frustrating. Up there with frustrating.
Because we didn't finish it. We didn't actually complete it.
No,
There was
we
four
tried.
of us in total. And we didn't finish it. And I very nearly got dragged out of that room by staff because I was like, no, I'm not going. I want to finish this.
I want to finish this. Why am I not allowed?
But that was really good. I enjoyed that. I think that sort of skill that goes into building those rooms and building those puzzles is really, really good.
Yeah, but I just think I overthought the entire thing. I was like, no, what?
Yeah.
This can't be as simple as it is. It must be more complicated than that. But no, it was literally as simple as that.
Yeah, I'm trying to rip a door off its hinges thinking that must be it, and it's part of the props.
Yeah.
So,
You took the masking tape off a doll just to see if it was something under there, but it was the doll that was the
I
clue.
think it was holding it together because the amount of people that had touched it and moved it.
Honestly, it was ridiculous.
But yeah, so we have them, and then obviously this week now, then I'm trying to finish a pottery line and finish everything up with that and have it all ready and photograph for a couple of new buyers. And then I'm off to the big smoke on Thursday.
Yes, you're going to London on Thursday.
I am
You're
indeed.
going to see a show?
I'm not going to see a show. No, I'm going to do a bit of gallery hopping. I haven't been to any of the galleries up in London for about 2 years now.
Oh, okay.
And I like to refresh myself. I've got this thing where it was a book that I saw and I never bought it, but I kind of adopted that approach every time I go to a big art gallery, because you go to bigger galleries like the National Portrait Gallery or the V&A, and they're so vast and they're so big that there's no way you're going to possibly see everything. Even the same in the National Museum in Cardiff. There's no possible way you're going to see everything in those galleries in one day. So I go in with different approaches every time I go in there. Sometimes I like to go into the galleries and just walk around it really, really quickly and go back to the things that stuck in my head and spend more time looking at it and paying attention to it. So that's an approach to going into a gallery that I enjoy. But there's lots of things you can do. You could say, right, so what I'm going to do this Thursday when I'm in the National Portrait Gallery in London is I am going to look for only Welsh artists or paintings of Welsh people or places and see how many of them I can find when I'm in the National Portrait Gallery.
Are you going to find any? I don't know. Is it because are we that well represented?
Well, I can use the directory online and find what paintings are there and where they're from,
Yeah,
and
quite true,
what
actually.
galleries that they're in. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I'm taking the coach up, so I'm going to be on there for about 4 hours. So I might just do it on my iPad on the way up and make a bit of a map for myself around the gallery.
And make a bit of a plan and a reel on the way back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
and just post it about 9:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
Stick around. That might happen. Or if you don't see it on our socials, it means Jack failed miserably and we're not well represented in London. Anyway, shall we carry on with our first question this week?
Let's.
That's coming up next.
This episode of Pain in the Arts is supported by Whirlwind Communications, founded by Nia Williams.
So Nia works with arts organisations, charities and creative projects across Wales, supporting them with public affairs policy and communications, particularly where culture, community and decision-making all intersect.
At a time when the arts are under real pressure in Wales, and with the upcoming Senate election, that is likely to be the biggest shake-up in decades, Whirlwind Communications exists to help creative voices be heard clearly, confidently and in the right rooms.
You can find out so much more by searching for raywin.co.uk. So it's time for Pain in the Arts, Jack. Let's go for the first question.
Okay, our first question this week comes from Fion, who asks, how do I stop comparing my work to everyone else's online? I see all this amazing work out there and it makes me feel like mine isn't good enough.
Oh, I don't think she's alone in that. And I think you do get, I mean, with most vocations, as far as I'm aware, most people have imposter syndrome to a certain extent, where you don't feel like you belong in that sector, in that industry. And so therefore you see everybody else who does, you feel like they belong in that industry. And it kind of puts you a little bit back. It makes you lose your confidence, all these sorts of things. Yeah, I think that is a real problem, but it's not unique to the arts and creative sphere, unfortunately or fortunately. And I do think that there's multiple ways around that. What do you think?
I think, again, something maybe we're not stressing it enough to the people that write in and ask us questions. They're not telling us what their art form is.
Oh,
I
yes.
think we can help better if we know what your art form is. But again, for this, I'm going to assume Fiona's a painter.
Okay.
So we'll just go down that road. We'll stick to that assumption.
Fiona, you're a painter now. Jack said so.
I wonder if maybe it's technique, not technique. It's a sort of has Fionn gone out there and looked at all the different styles and approaches to painting, for example. So she's looking at her painting of a man on a hill and comparing it to, I tell you what, here's a better one. She's looking at her painting that she's done of a vase of sunflowers, and she's comparing it to a very well-known vase of sunflowers that we all know by a particular artist, and thinking it isn't good enough. There are different avenues of art. There are different ways that you can look at. You've got naive, which is a style of art. You've got expressionism, realism, pointillism, if I could say the word. There are so many different styles of artwork that you can approach. Like, one of my favorites is naive art, and it does look like childlike paintings, like the type of thing your mum would put on the fridge of you from school, but it's the technique that are involved in them and the concept that is involved behind those artworks weigh as heavy on the viewer as something that could maybe be a photorealistic version of the subject that someone who is a realist painter can capture. And I think you only have to go through galleries or flick through a book. I've got a really good 101 Arts, a book. It's only a tiny little book. I mean, you go through that and you see all the different styles of artwork out there, and you realise there is genuinely a place for every single type of art. So I don't know if it's maybe that is what she's looking at and thinking it's not good enough, that it is rocking her confidence a little bit. But I think maybe go out there and find an artist whose style best matches yours, and go to make a day of it, make fun out of it. Go to galleries, go to libraries, and look up art books and different styles of art books, and you'll discover a sort of a secret collective that you belong to, almost, of this is my art, this is my style. And then you can start exploring further. You need to be confident in your art, I think, to explore your style.
Yeah, definitely.
And don't try and mimic another person's style or technique, because it'll just come across as not genuine. You see that so much nowadays, that one particular artist becomes really popular and that style is replicated everywhere across multiple mediums. And it becomes so boring, so seen, so done. And it really just isn't good for the sector in general. But being your most authentic self and the most authentic version of you and your art form is what sells ultimately.
And I do think that a lot of artists are self-critical. They are the worst, and they look at each other's work and think, oh, that mine isn't as good as that, because that one is a little bit better because it's got this nuance to it, or that slight change to it, or they were successful in being funded and I wasn't. And it's all very, mine isn't as good as that person's. But at the end of the day, everybody is wrestling with their own self-confidence and their own inadequacies in some way. And sometimes you need to push that aside. It will always be sat there in the back of your mind, but you have to think that chances are the people that you're looking at online are also thinking exactly the same thing, but they have done it, and they've gone and put themselves out there. And they may be just lacking in confidence like you, but they have taken that step and they've pushed it forward. And I think it's a very similar thing to I don't know how to market myself, and these sorts of questions that come in on a regular basis. I think it is one of those situations where you just have to put yourself out there, and you have to be prepared to be critiqued. That's the whole point of art, and
it's how you grow. Yeah, you grow from being critiqued. There's gonna be people out there who are just gonna be mean, especially if very rarely will you be in a modern art gallery and you'll see very modern art, or like I said, that is maybe more in a naive style, and you won't hear some wise guy somewhere go, my kid can draw better than that, or I could draw that.
I've heard it so often.
Honestly, the amount of time, if every time I heard that I put £1 in a little tin somewhere, I would own some really great art in this house and I would have bought it outright. But yeah, I think that you touched on funding. I wonder if this is something that Fiona is comparing herself to, that her art and her exhibitions and her projects maybe aren't getting funded, and that's a thing, a benchmark that she's using. But honestly, like, if that's an avenue you come from, then I really wouldn't. Like, a lot of the stuff that you will maybe see out there has got funding from different awarding bodies attached to it, but that's why you're seeing it, because the funding that is attached to it usually comes with things like a marketing budget and things like that. But there is so much art out there in the world that isn't funded, that doesn't have sort of bigger organisations attached to it that are doing their own thing, and that are still being recognized. And I personally think that you can't replace business skills and sort of going out there on your own and building yourself a business on your own. Because when you think about it, being an artist is being a business, is
Yeah,
you
of
being
course
a
it is, yeah.
self-employed business. And if you opened up a cafe or a clothes shop or a hairdresser, there's no awarding body that you can go to ask you for grant funding to let you open up that business. So you've got to learn to do it on your own and make it a success. And I think when you're an artist, if you go into that same thought mentality, is you've got to make it work yourself, and then you'll go in for grant funded projects on your own or with a collaboration with other buildings and other people and collectives, and win some, lose some. It is very much a lottery at the moment with grant funding, and it seems to be that everyone is complaining they're not getting funded, but not everyone can be. And I think it needs to be one of those things that we're not as a country funding things for the sake of funding it, but instead what we do have is really, like, at the core level, like, talented artists with really good, like, business skills. And I think, maybe go off and do a couple of business courses, online business courses or things like that, or look for some like YouTube tutorials or some funded courses out there that are to do with business. And I think that'll give Fionn a level of grounded confidence in her art, that she knows how to grow her business. She knows the aspects of business within it. I think that could be something that maybe give her a bit of confidence, and then you'll have a secret weapon under your belt. Then you won't have to be comparing yourself to artists and worrying, because you'll be like, well, I know how to grow a business because I've gone away and I've looked into this and I've researched it and I know what I'm doing. I'm putting it into practice.
And that can set you apart from the competition.
Yeah.
And that can be, like Jack said, that can be your complete uniqueness and your unique skill and what you can bring to the market. I think
Maybe that should be something that we should consider. Maybe we should consider, like, not a second podcast, but maybe on the YouTube channel or something like that, or our socials, doing small set one-off subject question and answers on, like, when do I do VAT? Should I be a limited company? And all different business questions like that from our backgrounds in business and obviously in the arts. So I wonder if that's something that maybe people want as a resource available to them. Let us know in comments if that is something that you want.
Well, we hope we helped there, Fionn. Our second question will be coming up straight after this.
This episode is brought to you by Wonder Cinema.
So getting the family together for a fun and memorable event is getting more and more expensive, and that is where Wonder Cinema are bucking the trend across South Wales right now.
Get the full family into the car, park up and unwind with a classic movie and a pre-show from a Welsh creative that can range from fire dancers to your favourite film characters performing on stage.
Or with great snacks, a brilliant vibe, and it's all happening across South Wales throughout the year.
You can find out more and book your 2026 cinema experience by searching for Wonder Cinema across all your socials.
Okay, Jack, give us question number 2.
Oh, this is an exciting one, because the next question comes from Anonymous.
Oh, Anonymous. Okay. I knew him well.
So, how do I say no to unpaid opportunities without burning bridges with big organisations in my industry?
And now I suddenly know why it's anonymous.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think I would have put that through as anonymous, because it is a vicious circle of, you won't get employed as an employee or as a freelancer without relevant experience. You can't get the relevant experience unless you're prepared to do free work in industry and just basically give yourself for nothing. And it's, it's a bit of an anomaly for me, I think, in the creative sector, that it is expected of you to give up yourself for free, or to give up your art or your skill or your talent for free, for things like exposure and experience and meeting the right people and being in the room where it happened, to quote Hamilton. It's one of those things that it's just expected of you, and no other industry, like, you wouldn't get a job on a corporate ladder in a bank or in finance and things like that and say to you, right, okay, you got to work the cashier desks once a week for free in order for us to teach you how to be a finance manager. That would never happen.
No,
so
you're quite right.
But it's something that I think they've taken the mick a little bit, and it's happened, and people have done it, and it's just expected, I think.
You know what it is? It's because people think that, oh, well, this guy or this person, they really want to get their art seen and put into the world. So they will do it for free because it's exposure for them. And because you love your art and you love what you're creating, you think, oh, well, do you know what? I might as well just do it this one time because I do love what I do. But that's not an excuse. You should be paid for every single time that you do the work. The only caveat to that would be, if you really, really want to do that one singular project, because it's going to, A is going to lead you to B, for instance. I mean, I've done some speaking opportunities and I've done some hosting opportunities for organizations and fantastic charities. Let's take Tea Haven, for example. I've done a few events for Tea Haven, obviously off my own back, completely for free, because why would I charge Tea Haven? It's a fantastic charity. I'm doing that. But that has thousands of people arrive at it. And that one event in front of those thousands of people has led to multiple bookings off the back of that for other events that are obviously paid. And then from there, everything works forward. So from that point of view, it made complete financial sense for me to do the one thing for free, because it led to something else that was paid.
But I
As
think
long
you've
as that's the
always been in a
case.
position where you've been fortunate to have either employment or self-employment with a steady income.
Yeah.
And if you weren't in that position, you wouldn't be doing those things for free.
No.
You wouldn't.
No.
Your first port of call wouldn't be, I'm going to go and do all these events for a charity for free in order to kickstart my career, because it very rarely will kickstart a career. You'll get things off the back of it as a bonus, but it won't be the crux of your business. And I think another thing
Value
within
yourself.
this as well, I think, which is a huge issue in the industry at the moment, and I get so many colleagues and friends and people who send me freelancer applications for industries, and they say, should I go for this? Do you think I fit this? And the reason they ask is because not only are these application processes so lengthy,
Yeah.
but they practically expect you to do a day's worth of work. There's not that many of them nowadays that don't have put in 500 words or 1,000 words, a breakdown of how you would run this course or how you would facilitate this activity. No, guys, we shouldn't be doing this. To the organizations, we shouldn't be doing this to freelancers and artists, because those 500, 1,000 word project proposals, breaking down step by step, following your code of process, is taking them a day. That's a day's worth of work that they could be out somewhere else in the hopes that they're going to get this. They're in a pool of other people. They probably won't. Most of these people won't get that job with you, but you've still expected them to do a day's worth of work for nothing. And a lot of the times I'll say to these people, don't do it. If that's their approach to employing a freelance creative, they don't understand how creatives make money in a freelance position. You won't be treated well, but it's a red flag to me.
Yeah, it is. And at the same time, I do think that the wording needs to completely shift around freelancers as well, because when it says we're hiring, and the full thing on Instagram is we're hiring, and then you see the advert and it's like, well, we're looking for a freelancer. Well, first of all, that's not hiring, because you're not actually hiring somebody. You're choosing to engage somebody who is a freelancer or a self-employed person for a set amount of tasks for a set amount of time. There is also the implications of things like IR35, which organizations are coming up against, and some of them really don't understand that. And that we could do a separate podcast altogether on IR35. That's its own thing. But at the same time, there does need to be very strict criteria. And I think if you are going to apply for that, if you are going to apply for that role, and you are going to put yourself out there, and if you are going to take half a day to fill in an application form, which sometimes that does, yeah, you're quite right, that does happen, then rightfully, if you get the role or if you get the freelancing position, you should be instantly putting yourself in for that time.
Well, what about the people who don't? What about all the people that don't? And for every one position, there's probably 30 people applying for it.
And there's people, they're already saving on PAYE, tax, pension contributions, all of these things. They're saving on all of that, and they're getting another half a day. If you're an employee or a potential employee, that's all you're going to do half the time is send your pre-written CV that you've already sent 20 or 30 times. And you're already going to send a one-page cover letter. That's going to take you, 20 minutes, something like that. Whereas for a freelancing opportunity that probably doesn't pay that much more per hour when you equate it, you've got to take up to half a day to fill in that application. I can really logically see why people shy away from them.
Yeah.
But
and
people
I
are
think
desperate.
more and more good people in the industry, good freelancers in the industry now are actively, I know that because we are friends in that sector, and they know a lot of people, and Cardiff is a really small, Wales is a really small country, really. Yes. A lot of us know a lot of us or of each other through mutual friends. And the conversation now is that we're just going to stop working with these companies.
Yeah.
If that's what they expect of us, then they're just going to be left with the new up and coming ones who will do it. Or people that just really have no right or business being in the industry, aren't very good at what they do, but then they'll be delivering subpar project leadership and management or proposals, they'll be running those things at a substandard level, which will then negatively reflect on the organisation.
Yeah.
And it's a sad state to be in, really. Whenever we've had to work with freelancers, from our point of view, the way we've always done it is we've tried to meet in a semi-formal social setting where it's at a coffee shop or it's at a gallery and it's somewhere like that, and it's really informal. We have put all the information out there.
Yes.
It's not
always in advance.
it's not gate kept, and it's not a really weirdly ambiguous job like a chief buyer coordinator, storytelling disruptor. Like, what is that? What do you want from me? I don't understand
£9 an
the
hour
dissertation you're asking me to submit for this job. So they already know everything that they need to know, so that's helped them decide whether or not they want the job. Because this is the thing as well, sometimes they're worded in a way that it's not until you've done all the work, gotten to the final interview, and then you actually realise what the job is about, and you're like, hang on a minute, this is not what I wanted to do, this isn't what I thought I was signing up for, but that's by the by. They have a conversation with us then that is an hour, 2 hours max, where we buy them a cup of coffee or a drink somewhere, and we have a bit of a wander around. We talk enthusiastically about our proposals and what it is we want to do, and we just get a vibe for the person, and we just get a feel for the person. We've already read their CV. They've already had the full breakdown of the project from us, so they know what they're getting themselves in for, and we're just there to see, do we gel with each other? Do we get on? Will we work well together as a team? And that's all it really needs to be. That's all
with a
it
freelance
has to be.
opportunity, most definitely.
We're not employing them as a full-time member of staff, but I think when it comes to how you say no without burning
that's
bridges.
what I was going to say,
so a lot of the time, I go out there, I apply for freelancer positions that pique my interest sometimes when I can squeeze them in amongst other projects. And I have done them in the past as well. I also get approached a lot by people to ask if I want to come on board, particularly in like facilitator leading roles for projects. I will take a look at the application process. I'll give everyone a fair chance and be like, yeah, let's work together. I like working with lots of different and new organizations that I haven't worked with before, because I think every time you work with a new one, you
learn something.
You learn something. You learn their way of working, their outlook on the creative sector, and what it is they're doing within it.
And you expand your network.
If it's someone that I don't want to work with, if I don't like their application process, or there are a couple out there, which I'm sure Chris will attest to, that you've only got to utter their name in a room and people's eyebrows will go up, eyes will widen, and you know that means don't touch them with a barge pole, do not work with them. And it amazes me, actually. I'm going off on so many tangents here.
I know, it's burning bridges, yeah.
It's a subject that it is a subject that me and you, I have talked at you about at great length from being in the freelancer pool, where how can some organisations be so disliked by the freelancers but still be a thing now and today, when it's such a known... Why is it a known thing in the industry that they're not a good company to work for? They're not nice people to work for. There's red flags throughout the entire company from CEO down to the bottom, and they're still a national identity. How can that be a thing?
Well, I personally think that in those specific scenarios, it is a question of who you know, not what you know. And I know that's, and the old guard lasts out in certain circumstances. I think there is a pool of people that exist, and Wales is by no means unique in this scenario. This exists in England, in Scotland, Northern Ireland. There's a group of people who have been around in the sector for decades, and they continue to be around in the sector. And because they're known and their name is attached to it, then they become the one that gets this or the one that doesn't get that, and they all of a sudden they have this circle around them. And even though they might be the worst possible people, because they surround themselves with this group of people that are decent, that, they have such a big offering, then that way they end up staying in the mix for so many decades. And it's really disappointing. But thankfully, especially in Wales, I think we are changing the narrative, because I think
we have a lot of exciting new young businesses opening up now with the people with the correct outset. But because I keep going off on handles, I haven't actually answered Anonymous' question.
That's why I'm saying we have to go back to this question.
The way I turn them down, if I've looked at it and I've decided I don't want to do it, sometimes you don't find that out until you've already put the feelers out and contacted them and done a sort of pre-application. Yeah. So when they come back to you and they ask you to an interview or they ask you to supply certain paperwork, my general response is generally, unfortunately, I've already accepted or signed on to another project. Can't dedicate the time to at the moment. Apologies. I always sign it off with, look forward to working with you again in the future, because even if that project there and then wasn't for me, or the way it was worded or what was required, in order to even be considered is a lot. They will probably put out the projects that don't seem that in depth at the time. So I'll say things like that, or if they're free opportunities as well. Like we, at the Edit, are run by volunteers. We're a community interest company. We are purely out there to just put Wales's creative sector on a global stage and the people of Wales to know what is going on in their creative sectors. We do a lot of stuff for free. We do the odd bit that's paid.
Yeah.
We get
Keeps the lights on.
We get to the point where we just physically don't have enough people to send all the things that we want to send to sometimes, especially around Christmas time. Like anyone watching now from a PR company who wants us in at Christmas time somewhere at their event, book us now. But honestly, book us now, because it got crazy this year. Last year,
yeah, it got absolutely nuts. I mean, I think we were at one point, I think we did 4 shows in a week, and then we did an exhibition, and then we did something else all around, having to also do a lot of work as well outside those events.
So what, in those instances, what we have said is, if we're absolutely at breaking point and we've got nobody else that we can send to cover things, is we say to them, unfortunately, we're at our capacity with free or voluntary services that we're offering at the moment. We're at our quota for the year. Thank you for considering us. However, if you'd like us to cover something, or you'd like us to work with you on a paid opportunity, I've attached a PDF of our pricing and our services that we offer. If there's anything that interests you there, please feel free to get in contact, because you can always, we will always find a way for paid work.
Yeah.
Because, like Chris said, we need to keep the lights on. Like, we can't do this for free. We can't live off dust. I can't eat acrylic paint, although I've tried. Don't do that. But so, when it comes to the paid work, we will always find a way of making it work. Beg, borrow, steal, get other people to come in and help. I've actually, in order to fulfill a paid client's work with the Edit, I have had my 80-year-old grandmother, 81-year-old grandmother, go to review plays for me. Yeah. Because she is an avid theatre goer. I trust her opinion. But she's gone instead. I didn't have a night at the theatre.
She likes Inspector Morse.
She loves Inspector Morse, Agatha Christie, Poirot, all of that. Yeah. So she has gone and reviewed for me, while I've then gone off and done paid opportunities. I found a way to make it work. So there's ways you can do it. But always don't burn your bridges. There's no point, because you never know. Country. Yeah, you never know when you might want to work with that company again. And like I said, that one project the application process might have seemed a little bit needy, but companies evolve just as we evolve, and they'll start seeing the writing on the wall. They'll start seeing the environment change and how freelancers are approaching things, and they'll adapt their techniques too. Yeah. It's not a lost cause.
They'll still get applications, but the quality of those applications will just get lower and lower and lower. And ultimately, they will need to make changes. And if they're constantly asking for unpaid opportunities and free work, eventually, if we all are resounding in the fact that we don't want to accept this and we all want to be paid, which everybody should be paid for their time, at the very least cover their expenses, then if everybody was singing off the same hymn sheet, then chances are we would all have a far fairer system that is going on in Wales right now. So if you're listening or watching this at the moment and you are thinking, do I do an unpaid opportunity? Just say no. Just say no. Just say, unfortunately, I can't. I have bills to pay. I can't run on exposure.
Yeah, well, that's our quota. I think a final sign off there to Anonymous is, it's all about, in the creative sector as an artist, it's about knowing your worth, really. Yeah. And your worth is at bare minimum wage. Yeah. Living wage, really, at bare minimum. And put yourself out there, get yourself some paid opportunities. If there's anything we can do further to help with paid opportunities in the creative sector, feel free, write in another question to us, and we'll see if we can help you in that area.
So we hope we helped there, Anonymous. That lit a fire under Jack on this on this podcast.
I think I control myself very well. No names were dropped, no bridges were burned.
Okay. If you've got a question for us, please do send it in. You can find all the details over on our Instagram page, or you can head to theeditwales.com, where you can also post anonymously too. We have so many questions that have come in. We've had over 300 or something. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Are they all singing off the same hymn sheet, or are they a real varied bunch?
No, there are quite a lot that are similar sorts of questions, which, do you know what it says to me when you're reading through and you're trying to sift them down? It does make you think, do you know what? We are all we're all the same. We've all got the same insecurities. We've all got the same issues. We've all got the same problems. We're not alone. We're just treating ourselves as though we are alone. And I think what we need to do is, there are services like what we're doing here, where you can just sit and just bounce an idea off somebody. And I think that's so important, because then you suddenly realize you are not alone with your idea, and you're not alone in thinking that you're like Fionn earlier, where you've got self-doubt, or you're not like Anonymous, where you're thinking, do I have to take this unpaid opportunity? You are actually thinking, no, I'm not the only one who's feeling like this, and I shouldn't be the only one, and I shouldn't suffer in silence at the same time. You can send us a question in, and that is how this works. God, that was a serious moment.
Yeah, it was a
Anyway,
bit.
let's talk about the weekend.
Yes. So
What's happening on the week ahead?
I'm just looking through now our schedule, and I'm just dance seems to be a big thing this week.
Dance. I don't mind a bit of dance. Depends on the type of dance.
I'm not particularly well versed in dance.
See, I look at these people in complete admiration, because see my two left feet? Yeah, I can't do it.
I've got to give it to, because like we've got like things like Matthew Bourne, the red shoe, or the red shoes, because there's a pair, like coming into the Wales Millennium Centre. And when we've seen things like that in the pattern of Matthew Bourne's productions, we've seen Swan Lake and
Edward Scissorhands. Loved Edward Scissorhands.
And the real thing you've got to give to these productions is they are moving for the full 2 hours.
Yeah.
There is not one, okay, obviously there's the intermission, but they move the entire time. And that must be so grueling on the body. That must be so hard. But I think, like, we've talked about stuff like this before in the past. I think you either sit in team musical or team dance when it comes to production.
Oh, you were lighting a fire amongst some people here.
But I do think it is true. I think you sit in one or the other. I do find myself sometimes in some dance productions, my eyes will sort of wander and I'll start be paying attention to like the architecture in these old theatre buildings. But that doesn't mean they're not good. Really, you know, when I go to review things, and I've said this before, if it's not for me, I'm good at like sort of fixing my head into it and saying it's not for me. I'm not the intended audience here. So I need to come into it with how can I review this fairly? And I really do. I just take in the audience around me. I look at their facial reactions and their smiles and their nodding and their swaying. Like, there are people that sway to the music, and it's almost like they want to get up and dance too.
That's the gin.
Could very well be. But yeah, I think so. You sort of reflect off the people in the audience and around you and their reactions. One thing I always do when I'm leaving a theatre, I'll drag my heels as I'm leaving, and I try and stick myself in the middle of the big crowd of people that are trying to force themselves like a sausage into the skin at the doors.
I don't get that.
And I listen to what they're all saying as they're leaving, because I want to know what they think about the production that they've gone to see. Because I might have felt one way about it, but the audience might have thought the complete opposite. And there's nothing worse than reading a review that is negative or not very good because the person wasn't the intended audience for it, but the people in the audience are the intended audience and they all loved it. I think as a reviewer, I need to realise that I'm not always writing for the people like me who are reading it. I'm writing for people all across the country. And
to be fair though, you do tend to find, especially with you, and I'm not just bigging you up because you're here, but your reviews are very much, even if the production, you didn't like the production for whatever reason, you will always say the positives. There are always multiple positives in there, and the negative, whatever you found that's a negative, even if it's the predominant thing, and if it was an absolutely awful show or something like that, at the very least it will be noted in a minor way, and everything that was everything that could have been a positive was there instead. You know, if the writing, I mean, we've seen some where the writing's absolutely horrendous, but you've applauded the stage, the performance, the acting, the music, the everything else, and then just said the writing wasn't so good. End. Do you know what I mean? So there's always, I would say it's some sort of sandwich. I won't swear.
I was going to say,
just in case.
I try not to end on the poo of a poo sandwich. I'll sort of tuck that in the middle somewhere and just then glide past it really quickly. But I will, you know, if things are wrong or a little off, I will say that they felt a little off to me.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think I try and make my reviews as rounded as possible to a wider audience, because there's something for everyone when it comes to the art sector.
Yeah,
there really is.
We'll have to find out what your opinion on Matthew Bourne's red shoes will be.
Yes,
then we'll carry on
we
with
have
that
a couple
one.
of things at Cabaret this week?
We are indeed. We are going to a few, but I will have to post those separately because I've totally forgotten what they were. But we are going to Cabaret Bingo.
Yeah,
I
we've
know
got
that.
Cabaret Bingo, definitely, which I feel like for someone who hasn't played Bingo a lot, this year already, and we're only in February, I've been at 2 different productions that are Bingo based. So
It's
actually
obviously a
fun.
popular genre.
I panic with a dabber in my hand. I really do. So we'll see how that goes. You might have to play two sets of Bingo that night. You might have to do my one for me.
That'll be fine. I can keep up.
Yeah.
Have you got a community shout out for us?
I do. So, my community shout out is an artist, a musician who I've been following for a really, really long time.
Okay.
She's a Welsh language musician. And I have started hearing her. She might have been already for a while, but I've started hearing her on the radio a lot, which has given me a small amount of pride. It's Mally Half.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you know, obviously, because I blast her through the speakers of the house.
Yeah.
A lot of her music is very summertime vibes.
It is fantastic.
But
I love
if
her
you're
music.
looking for a young pop sort of, I wouldn't quite say R&B. She collaborates a lot with R&B rappers, those sort of artists. But Welsh language, pop, young, fresh music. Definitely check her out. Mally Half is spelled Malihaf.
We'll tag her.
Go and check her out because I think she is probably one of the best Welsh language female musicians that we have in Wales at the moment.
Yeah, I do love her music. We play her on the local music playlist every now and again.
Yeah.
She is very good.
Let's have more of her.
Yes. Well, that is it for Pain in the Arts this week. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe. It really, really does help to grow this podcast, and I am loving the interaction that we're having at the moment.
But yeah, that's it from us this week. We have all our socials down below or in the description boxes, wherever it is you're watching or listening or but I'm a ghost. I'm not here anymore.
You're still a 222 a ghost
I know
story.
I am a bit. But yeah, I'm going to go and have some pancakes now because pancake day has passed, but I'm just sort of on the bandwagon now since Tuesday. I've been having them every day since.
We will see you next week for more art, creative, and much more chaos on Pain in the Arts. Thank you so much.